Hello, everyone. Welcome to AWS Tech Tales. My name is Samara Reaño.
Hello everyone, my name is Tanvi Modak. I am filling in for Matt while he's away, and I'm so happy to be here with you, Zamara.
I know. Just so you all know, Tambi has been part of the AWS Tech Tales family for a while. She was actually part of our producer team, but I am so glad to actually have her today join the stream. So then you can all just say hi to her and welcome her to the family.
Hello everyone. So happy to finally be like a co-host on the show.
Mhm.
I've been working closely with you and Matt. It's been so exciting to be behind the scenes, but I'm also excited to be here and to meet with our guest speaker today and to talk more about all the exciting stuff that he's going to present.
Yep. Thank you for joining us, Tambi. And for our audience, can you just do a quick intro of what you do here at AWS?
Sure. So I'm also a technical account manager or a TAM, similar to Zamara and Matt. And I have been part of AWS for close to 5.5 years. And I'm based out of New York and I'm excited to learn more about what is going to be presented today.
Awesome. Thank you, Tambi. And to all of you coming in, joining us for this stream, say hi. Drop your hellos and your location of where you're joining us from. We have a lot of good content to cover today with a guest. So without further ado, can we bring in our guest? Hi,
Hello.
Rainer.
Rainer,
Welcome.
Thank
welcome to
you.
Tech
Thanks for having
Tales.
me. Great to see you.
Great to have you here today. Would you give us a quick introduction of yourself and what you do here at AWS?
Sure. Yeah. I'm a partner solution architect. So I work with consulting partners based in Germany. Been with AWS since 6 and a bit years right now, and yeah, helping our consulting partners to build great stuff for the customers. So yeah, and really happy to be here, working a lot with building workshops and stuff, which is one of the topics for today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we do have some streamers coming in and joining. Hi, Erie. Hi, Kerns. Thank you all for joining today. Okay, so without further ado, Rainier, what do you have for us today? What will you be covering?
Today we'll be looking into Kiro CLI. So originally I have a game day background, so I started game day since years working on game days at reInvent and stuff. And we always had the challenge of how can we make this also available to someone who's not playing in a team with less effort?
Uh-huh.
And how can we bring it together with Kiro CLI? So having some agent at your terminal that can just do the work for you. And this is how we merged all of this together, like having some kind of game day, a bit of a competition, a bit of challenges with a tool that can do the work for you. And yeah, that's what I'm going to show today. Building something from I have prepared some chaotic, simple, basic, not too good infrastructure. And we will use Kiro CLI to bring it to somehow quite well architected within just 1 hour. So that's really
That's
Wow.
awesome. That's great content. You always
fingers
want to
crossed.
make sure you're building using the best practices. So I feel like
Mhm.
this is a great way to make sure that you're doing just so.
Yeah.
And for folks who might not be aware what a game day is, Trainer, do you mind telling us a little bit more about just how the format is, what to expect for a game day?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, a game day is a gamified learning format. It's 100% hands-on, so you won't survive with at least a bit of experience on AWS console. And you're presented with a set of challenges that you need to solve within a team. So typically, you get groups of 3 to 4 people. You form teams, and the teams compete against each other on solving the challenges and getting points for the challenges. And that's typically really fun because it's a bit different, like the standard workshops, which are very prescriptive. You do this, you click here, you get this result. And a game day doesn't tell you what to do. A game day just tells, well, what is it, what you need? You need to figure it out yourself. So search engine might be your best friend when trying to win a game day.
I'm
Nice.
assuming there's a leaderboard, so there's the competitive spirit in folks that are
Absolutely.
joining in.
Yes. And some game days even have something like what we call chaos. So things suddenly go wrong, and you need to find out what went wrong. You need to fix it fast so it works again. Really nice. People really enjoy it typically. We get a lot of fun.
I'm excited to see what you have for us today.
So am I. It's definitely a great environment to capture learnings, especially when you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the chaos engineering. I feel like that is such a fun, sometimes a racking way to learn, but definitely great because it's hands-on keyboard. So
Absolutely, yeah, agree. But today again, it's a mixed form, so it's not as competitive, not working in a team. So I will be working on my own. I would just I would just do a big of demo, run through it, and we can then do some live interaction to see how would it work.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's not as trying to find a good word that is not called boring. It's not as prescriptive as a standard workshop where you just go through the steps. So we'll find out. Fingers crossed that it works.
awesome. And if it
So
doesn't, we'll work through it. We'll get it to work. So definitely
Absolutely,
excited
yes.
we
about
love
that.
live troubleshooting.
Exactly, exactly. And for our viewers today, if there along the way there are any questions or any follow-ups to any of the steps or things that are being covered today, please make sure you drop in the comments, and Tambi and I will be happy to make sure that you get those questions answered.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
but
Great.
go ahead.
Shall we kick it off? Yeah. Let's pull up the screen share. So yeah, that's great. So you can see right now here. So we call it even from chaos to well architected.
Awesome,
Very
awesome.
prescriptive name for this. And now let's have a look at this is on the left side. You see
Mm-hmm.
what is currently available, which is a very simple architecture, just a internet gateway, classic load balancer. There is a server doing something and is connected to a database. That's okay. It works.
Okay,
That's all. And the
okay.
right side
Yep.
is where we want to end up by end of today, if we can make it in that time.
All
Like
right.
making this resilient, highly available, multiple
Mm-hmm.
availability
Mm-hmm.
zones, making this auto scaling so that it will scale up and down depending on the demand. Of course, we want the database to be auto scale, highly available as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then adding security,
Yeah.
well architected firewall, a secrets manager to store the secrets, so they are no
Okay.
longer hard coded in the code, like a
Mm-hmm.
big thing. Adding some caching on top. So we will go through all these steps, and to be honest, Kiro will go through all these steps. You just tell it what to do. So that's the idea.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Right.
And I remember, Zamara, we also did an episode, I think it was last year, about Kiro. So this is the Kiro CLI. So we're seeing all these different flavors of how Kiro functions, how you can use it to be more performant, how to improve efficiency. And I'm very excited to see this part of it.
Yes, yes. And if for those of you that joined us for that discussion, I'm sure that you'll remember, but if you didn't, you can definitely catch the replay of that episode in our awstechtails.com, which lands you in the builder page where we have that episode. And if you look back to and I believe that was back in September 8th, our September 8th episode. And I just see that the link has been shared. So you're welcome to go back and take a look at it.
Cool. Great. Good stuff. Yeah, we're purely focusing on CLI. So it's all terminal based, what we're doing today. It's not about developing with Kiro CLI, but it's using it as a tool, as an agentic tool in day-to-day work. So, right. Okay, I would say let's start. I didn't mention this, all of our game day stories. Any game day is always around unicorns, by the way.
I wonder what's the background story of that. Like, how did that start?
That is a good question. That has been 12 years ago. That was right before my time. But I heard they were just looking for some kind of a business scenario, because it always makes sense if you have a business scenario.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And someone came up with, how about renting out unicorns? Okay, that's a cool business scenario. Let's
That's
build
a
it
good
in
one.
there.
That's a good one. And it just kind of it just kind of stuck.
Absolutely. And then every single game day builds on top of that. So we have a ride-hailing system. We had a unicorn polo league. We had multiple different topics just around unicorns. So that was really, really nice. So don't be surprised that we find unicorns here.
Yes, definitely.
That's fine. Okay, right. This is, I can see the health of my application. So right now, all is green, which
Okay.
is good. Let's wait and see how long this kills. And I've put this into 9 different tasks to make this available. My cat comes in and wants to help. So this is my second agent for today. So we'll start with network security, then we'll look into database availability, firewall. We will move it to Graviton. We'll refactor to containers and all the stuff you see in here. Step by step.
Okay. So this will be the different areas that we will be diving into throughout the episode.
Exactly. And depending on, by the way, depending also on all your viewers, on your input, if you feel like let's look at this one and this one, I'm happy to jump around because we might not make all of the 9 tasks in this 1 hour. We need to do the first one because we need the network environment. Absolutely.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah. And then in that time that we're working on that, just a reminder, if there is any specific areas that you want to make sure that it is covered today, just drop those in the comments and we'll make sure that we get those.
Right. Okay. I will now do my magic hide here so that we have more space for Kiro. So I will be using Cloud Shell just for simplicity because then I'm already logged into my account. Of course, you can run it in your local terminal, your local dev environment, and you just need to connect there. I will just use it for simplicity.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
No, I said awesome.
Cool. Kiro CLI. That's how I just started. So very, very easy to go there. I just need to get my cat off the table. Just say hi.
Oh, hello.
Sorry for that. Right. And just to see if it's working, what I really like to do is say list all my EC2 instances in US East 1, just to see how we connected. Is everything fine? And then Kiro, because now we see the first thing that's really important, we need to give it approval that it does agentic action. So it should now call the API, ask the EC2 API, please list me all the instances. Is it allowed to do so? And I've got 3 possibilities. I can say no, which wouldn't really make sense right now. I can say yes, so it will continue to run. And I can say T, like trust. Trust means that this specific command, like calling the AWS API, would be approved for consecutive asks. That can be very helpful and can be very dangerous.
Right. I was just going to say, so when you choose the yes, it's just to that one specific command rather than everything going forward. So you kind of have that ability to go back and forth on what you want. But if you do trust, it's just across the board, correct?
For that specific, so it's using different agents. Like one agent is like writing a file or reading a file or executing an AWS command. And you trust each of these tools. That's how it's called. So if you say, okay, for instance, I typically go like, I trust reading files because typically nothing really can go wrong there. Writing files is a different thing. And also using the AWS API can also go sideways. And I've seen Kiro CLI going sideways, where it was trying to solve something and then digging its own rabbit hole where it really didn't get out. And sometimes that perhaps can harm your infrastructure if you didn't give good commands or precise commands. So my recommendation is anything that is a mutation that changes something, that you use single yeses and not just go trust and just go and run.
And once you select trust, will it stay trusted for the session? Like if you go into a new Cloud Shell, will you have to go back and trust it again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it's just session-based pretty much.
Session-based,
Okay.
It's a two-way door decision, but you have to answer the session, absolutely, yes.
And if you change your mind, is there a way that you can go back and say, I don't want to trust it? Or if you trust it, it's you have to stick with that for the session?
You can tell it, but to be honest, I found this to be less reliable. So very often it works, but I have already revoked trust in a session, and suddenly at some later point, it did execute something because it felt like it had the authority to do so.
Okay.
So having this as a clear communication at the beginning is better. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay, let's start with the first task. And what I found out, and we ran this at reInvent last year, and a lot of participants really liked this. But what I found out where they struggled is like, okay, on the right, we now see what we need to do. So that's the task of our workshop. So VPC is not secure. We want to have this multi-AZ. We want to have our resources in the private subnets and stuff. So this is how we want to build this. And they went ahead and said, okay, this is my task. Create a new subnet. Make it public. So one step after the other. And what I found out works very well is you just give it the objective. And the objective would be, I want to have this multi-AZ. Build it in the right way. So I don't want to give all the nitty-gritty details because that's what the agent should find out itself. It's like, I want to have multi-AZ. I want to have my stuff in private subnets. And I want to have this well architected. So please do it for me.
Okay.
And I would just try it. And as usual, I'm a very lazy person. You will find out. So I would just, let's copy this.
All right.
Let's say, make sure, private, no security group. And of course, we want this without any unwanted traffic from the internet. Of course, I could type it. But I could just go ahead. I'm just copying these instructions now here.
Okay.
It's just a bit of cheating.
Right.
Just for
So you will say that at the high level, let's say if someone is not as scripted as to have it like in sentence format, but just kind of does like bullet points, have you kind of seen the difference of what the output would be or how it does that generate the path forward versus being more descriptive, how you're using it right now?
Yes. So sometimes the prescriptive way helps. So it's always finding this. By the way, I'll just start it because it will run in the background. We can continue discussing about this. It's always this thin line of being enough prescriptive. You see, by the way, I'm now putting in a lot of yeses.
Yes.
When you're too prescriptive, it might building something that contradicts, which it doesn't realize and you don't realize.
Okay.
When you are too vague, of course, we all know this, LLMs, so large language models, tend to fill gaps that you haven't specified. That's what we call hallucination. So if you don't, I've seen this, that if you, for instance, if you forget to specify the region, it will just go ahead and pick a region.
Okay.
It might ask, so if you have instructions like, if you have some parameter missing, please ask me, then it will do that. But if not, or if it feels like, well, I could just create a new VPC. And then it goes ahead. That might be not what you want. So balancing this, as you said, to say, I want to put in the objective instead of breaking down the task into single steps, but be precise enough that you get what you want. This is typically the typical tipping point.
That's a great point. Thank you. All right. So we do see that it says some issues found. We saw some X's there.
Yeah, exactly. And this is exactly what it should find. Like all traffic is allowed. All SSH is allowed. So I want this to be fine. It will now find this. It will flag it and say, this is not well architected. It does inform me. And I say, okay, let's go ahead. And now what it does, it creates all the necessary things like subnets, like the routing table, security groups, and so on. This typically would be the point where you feel, I should press T for trust.
You're double guessing yourself afterwards now.
It's trust is not a bad thing, but you have to really be careful. And I just want to make sure that we get each of these in the correct way. So yes, it will do it. So I know what it will do. Typically, I would really read what is in there. But and you see here, now the VPC configuration is done.
It's complete. Okay.
Yeah. And I see some of the check marks on the right have been turning green. You just have one that's,
Exactly. And that's, by the way, that might even be delayed because I think it checks once per minute. If I remember
okay.
So it might be that it turns green, but we can find out. But I also see there's no NAT gateway in here. So perhaps it has missed the NAT gateway. But there's just one NAT gateway. That might be an issue. So it might have missed that one. which is not a big thing because we can tell it well. We want a second NAT gateway in the
Okay.
second AD. But as you said, I didn't really specify, build me this subnet, build me this subnet. It said, do it well architected, move stuff into private networks, remove anything which is overly accessible. So really limit access only to the resources, like database only be accessible by the server itself, server only be accessible by the load balancer. So making this really tightly scoped in terms of security.
So we start with the objective and then we can go back and forth with the CLI. We're essentially having a conversation with it.
Right.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. And I have a bit of my personal. So first of all, let's make sure. And again, I'm really lazy. Hey, this isn't solved yet.
Okay.
Here I had. Yeah, now it will do what it should do. Now it will create it, and hopefully it will turn green in a minute or two.
And if we were to go into the console, will we see these resources being created right now? Is that?
Absolutely, yes. That's a good call out. Let's just do it. Let's go into VPC on this account. And then let's look at NAT gateways. Not sure how fast it will be. Perhaps then it's already created, but perhaps it's still in creation mode. Yeah, pending here.
No, pending.
Oh, wow.
So this is exactly the one which has been or is being deployed right now. So in the end, Kiro CLI is executing CLI commands or API commands. So it's just like any other standard normal way of provisioning resources.
But this is a great place for someone to start who hasn't really experienced CLI as much, who doesn't have hands-on experience. You can also learn what the commands are and then maybe try to recreate that if you do really want to learn how to use the CLI, but you can always use Kiro to chat with it and get it to the point where you want to build something.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can see it. And that's what I also like. It doesn't only just do it, it tells you, okay, this is the service, this is the operation name, these will be all the parameters I will be putting in. So you get full transparency before you press yes or trust, so, which is really important.
Another great point too is also when you are going through the motions of using this, it's also a great way to create that testing environment for your engineering teams and enacting run books on how to prescribe the different things that you want done. So great way to train teams across an org, a great way to also get you to become very familiar on how to interact with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And also, again, you somehow get a bit lazy on syntax and commands. So I used to try to remember what the CLI command looked like. And if you're using Kiro CLI a lot, you might just default to, why should I remember it? I could just start Kiro CLI.
You can just start,
list me all EC2 instances or just build me that one. So yeah, you easily become lazy with this one. Nevertheless, you have to be really still very aware and observing what is it that it's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's highly important.
Because you won't always have a checklist like we do for the game day in real life. We're going to have to check it ourselves.
Very good point. This is very nice because it helps us to find out where are we standing.
We have a quick question, Ranier. It says, can it generate architecture diagrams?
CLI, by the way, we went green now, so all good. CLI itself can't, as far as I know, but I mean, Kiro itself can create diagrams, and you can also use the Amazon Nova models, which are multi-model, which can also create these kind of diagrams. Depends if you want to have this in a graphic way, or if it's, I mean, you can also create diagrams out of text, like where you've got dashed lines and stuff, so some kind of structural text-based generation of an architecture or of a concept. That is even possible within Kiro.
Okay.
If it should be graphical, like using icons, like using really a drawing and not some kind of text-based emulation of a drawing, let's call it like that, then Kiro CLI can't do it because it doesn't have a graphical interface.
Yes.
And
Awesome.
we
Yes.
did run a few commands. If we wanted to see like a summary of everything it's done, can we ask it to share a summary of all the commands it's run
Let's
till
do it.
now?
First of all, I tend to be polite with models. Call me weird, but that's how it is. So,
I do that too. If they suddenly come alive, then I want a history that I was very polite with them. They have been chatting with each other in their own social media, I was reading, so it's best to be in their good books.
Yeah, so you see, I love this output because then I feel that if you are someone that is like testing out what you can do and capabilities, you can definitely showcase this to your team of like, look, you can even ask exactly what it was done and it will give you a summary of exactly what was done on your behalf, which I find it to be like extremely helpful, especially if you're trying to get comfortable around it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's also, I mean, apart from all the help that CLI the tools and Kiro CLI can give us, it also documents
Exactly.
automatically somehow. Even if it's just the conversation that you have a documentation of what you did. And typically, when you do some ClickOps in the console, that's not really, it might be documented in CloudTrail, but that's a hard way of finding out what you did. So that's really nice. But also adding, I think that's important. What we're doing right now here is a bit of an open heart surgery. So obviously, you wouldn't do this if this were a production workload. You wouldn't just use the CLI to just move around stuff and work there. So it's I love the CLI for being really for testing, for building something quickly, for investigating in terms of reading resources. But I would never use this to deploy something productive.
Oh, no. Yep. I do have a question from the audience, and Robert Tables, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the stream. The question is, what kind of assets needs to be provisioned before running this sort of review?
Okay, I guess this is belonging to the side on the right side. Like, how do you get all of this green? Do I get this right?
Yes, if Kiro can automate my well-architected frameworks. Oh, okay, that's just a comment. So Robert Tables, are you meaning from what kind of permissions you will have from the AWS side to build on your behalf, or can you be more specific to your question? And then while we wait for that.
Because if it's on the feedback on the right side, that is specific to this workshop at GameDay. So this is nothing within the AWS console. That is a very specific front end that is deployed when this workshop is being used. So it's nothing that's, unfortunately, it's nothing that you directly have in the console like green check marks that tells you my architecture is well architected.
He is coming from the IAM permissions. So pretty much what would you need to have from, I guess, the AWS account side to be able for it to deploy these on your behalf.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that depends on what kind of permissions you give it. So what I did is I authenticated with Identity Center. So Kiro can connect to Identity Center. And in Identity Center, you provision a user, and you give that user a set of permissions. Might be admin permissions, but it might be read-only permissions, which can be great if you want to use Kiro CLI for, let's say, root cause investigation. And you want to make sure that it just can't destroy anything. It can read anything, but it can't mutate any resources. So you control it via the permission set that you give the user that you need to that you use to authenticate.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you for that. I hope that we answer your question.
Want to set up some security guardrails, they can restrict it by restricting the IAM access. In that case, will Kiro throw an error that it doesn't have the required access to perform the action?
Yes, it will. It will recognize that. It will say, okay, I couldn't execute that action. I received a permission denied, and then typically it comes back to the user. Okay, what should I do? This is, by the way, a good segue to what I said. You have to be careful if you do the trust part. So if you say trusted, because I was running this from my local console. My credentials were just expiring because I have been working for quite some time, and it executed a command and found out, Okay, oh, the credentials expired. I can't work anymore. Okay, now let's create a new IAM user and let's create a new set of credentials and let's. And it was like, stop.
We definitely don't want that.
Exactly. So because I haven't been specific on when you encounter a permission error, just get back to me. So, yeah.
Perfect. All right.
So, right, let's go ahead to the next one. Like any preferences where we should go? We could continue with the database availability, but I can pick any of these because we have built the prerequisites. Network is done. So if anyone has a preference, otherwise,
drop them in the chat if there is any specific task that you wanted to see it play out. If not, then we will go in the order and go to databases next.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, while we wait for this, let's kick off the database part because I think that's also helpful. And that will run for quite some minutes in the background because RDS takes time to provision that. Let's be very lazy again. Nope. And also, I found out that stuff like, I mean, perhaps it doesn't know what this unicorn thing is about, but also giving it some context from an objective perspective. So database availability is crucial for our unicorn providers. That's not a task, but nevertheless, it gives the context to Kiro CLI when it works on this one to say, okay, availability is of high importance for us.
Right.
And it will also have this in the context. So perhaps at later stages when we do something completely different, it might come back to, okay, availability is super important. Availability means I can't just replace that database. I perhaps need to modify it in a maintenance window, or I need to spin up a new database first before I just. So it's really helpful, even if it's not a specific task that needs to be executed.
Awesome. So it does
in its memory.
That was what I was going to say. It's like building on its knowledge base of how you interacted with it.
Yeah. So it's all part of the session. It's not part. It doesn't have a long-term memory where stuff is stored.
Okay.
What you can do, and what Kiro is using quite. By the way, I need to allow it. What it can do, and what it does quite often, is that you tell it, okay, write this into a file. So give yourself a memory. So when you give it a more complex task, it might write it down into some breakdown document to say, okay, these are the steps I want to execute. And then it can use that document also as a reference later because it's a file. And you can point it back to that file. Or when it has done your work, like you can say, please document this in a documentation file. So a week later, I can pick this up and I can help you to remember what you did.
That's awesome because it's a continuance. Yeah.
It is so essential to be able to go back. Sometimes you're just trying to recreate something and you need to be able to go back and look up what you did. And
this is what I really like about the Kiro IDE, which I think you covered in one of the last sessions, as you said already. That this is very, very much about documenting the requirements and documenting the design and documenting the tasks that need to be executed, which are at least as important as the code. And then it becomes part of the repository. So same principle, persisting something that it can be picked up later is really helpful on these kind of toolings.
Definitely. Yep. We see the checks are green. So
yeah.
That did not take time at all. It went by super fast.
We're cheating a bit because it just checks if I have initiated the change. But when we now go to RDS, because anyone who's worked with RDS knows this takes a bit of time.
Okay.
So when we go there, we will find it still modifying, but the check says, yes, you're on the right path. You did the required changes. So we already mark it as green. You can see it's still in modifying state here.
Okay.
And this
do we know if Kiro is going to be tracking it if it were to encounter some sort of error and if the instance doesn't get created successfully? Will it then let us know of that status update?
Only if I ask it to. So right now, sometimes it does. We had this earlier, like let's just you see
was
here.
it in that gateway whenever we were doing that?
And you will see this quite often that it says, okay, I'm just waiting for something to come up. So I give myself a sleep command. I wait, and then I will try again to retrieve the status, because otherwise it will be constantly pulling the status, which doesn't make sense. Sometimes it does it on its own, but I could also say right now, please check the status or get back to me when it's done, and then it will run these kind of sleep loops and wait until it's there.
And then I would say another way also, whenever you're done with the task, you can always ask if there were any issues or pending statuses. It might also give you that. Like, so if you ask it right now, what is the status of the RDS? Would it tell you that it's still pending?
Let's do it. So what's the status of your RDS changes? And then it will, of course, ask me, may I call the API to get the status? Yes, you may.
There you go.
Still in modifying state stuff. So absolutely, yes.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Right. Did we get any wish list, or should I just go ahead with the next one?
No, let's just go ahead. No wish list so far, but from the audience, we have a question from Kearns. It says, can he also give you an ETA? I would assume of how long it would take, I guess, to fulfill or become active.
Yeah, so the LLM, the large language model itself, doesn't have a sense of time, but it can, of course, build itself a script that says, okay, try this until 5 minutes have expired or whatever. So it can build a mechanism to build this ETA, yes. But the LLM itself doesn't really have some kind of, okay, I have my internal alarm clock that just takes off.
Okay.
By the way, that's also something you see quite often. Right now, the tasks we do are not too complex. When it becomes more complex, it will also outsource this into a script. So it won't execute the commands like I did yes, 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 all at once, but it will write a script and then ask for the execution of that script, because to handle more complex things like if perhaps I say build all of this in one go. So make this, I don't know, subnets and RDS scaling and firewall and Graviton. Please do this in one go. That might be too complex to do, and then it would create a script for this.
So I would assume it will just break it down into like a workflow. So it just kind of goes into phases rather than all at once. Okay.
And the good thing about that is that's repeatable again. So right now I'm very much in ad hoc mode. Just do this, do this. So what you would call ClickOps, but perhaps CLI ops, I don't know. But as soon as you put it into a script, then it's repeatable, and then it's also easier to diagnose if something went wrong. So that's also an upside.
Yeah, so we have a comment actually from Robert Tables. He says, wish list, can I set up an event-driven pipeline? So that sounds kind of like what we're covering right now, right? So that this can be alerted when a thing happens versus me always asking to pull the responses. So I guess automating the responses of the status updates and changes rather than us coming in and checking in conversionally with them. Hey, did this already go through? Oh, it's working as it should.
You can, of course. I mean, this AWS, you can automate nearly anything. I think the effort will go into what exactly do you want to look at? Because what it will be using would be CloudTrail events. So what is changing? But there might be a lot of CloudTrail events coming in. So setting this filter of what do I really want to know? So what is the database I want to be informed about when the state has changed? Or what is the, security group configuration that has changed? Right now, this is a small environment, so I think it's not that difficult. But imagine you have a more complex architecture with more VPCs, more security groups. And if you get notified for every single perhaps a change that you didn't even initiate, that might not what you want. So I think the notification is not super difficult, but finding out what do I really want to know, that might be the thing that's not easy to configure.
Right.
Which is not know.
That's true.
Right. Okay, so let's go. We have defined this malicious IP address.
Okay.
We don't want to have any more incoming requests
from this specific one. Okay.
Exactly. So I tell it, please build a WAF, and that's it.
Okay.
And of course, it's not always that nice that you have stuff already there. So you might.
I was just going to say it's so easy to copy it right from here.
Let's do the next one. When we do the next one, I'll type it myself. I'm not good at it.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. When you're thinking about it, like you're building a run book. So instead of actually having to come in and type up every single thing, like you're creating a run book for your team to just come in and be like, these are the prompts that I want you to run. This is what has worked, what we have been testing, and you can continue building upon those.
You're right. Yeah. That might be perhaps. I think prompts might be the new code in future. So it's more important. Again, that's why that's what I very much like about the Kiro IDE, because in the end, it's a bit of prompts what you have in these documents, and these are the most important part. And by the way, when you have a good list of requirements, you already have. So if it's a rich set of this is what I want my application to do, you already have the full specs for the testing.
That's true. Yeah.
So you just tell it, okay, take my requirements, turn them into tests, and then you're test covered. So that's fine. Okay, I need to get this one running. Let's do it when we go to move to Graviton. I won't open this one. So let's discuss what would be a good prompt to make all of this to go to Graviton.
Okay.
But first of all, let's make sure that we get all of this covered. By the way, we haven't seen this in here. We have a classic load balancer in our initial architecture. I'm going to scroll up. I know you can't see it here. It's a classic load balancer. You can't attach a well-architected firewall to a classic load balancer. No. So what it did is it said, okay, let's just look for the classic load balancer don't support AWS WAF. I need to create an application load balancer or use CloudFront. And it decided to create an ALB to replace the classic, which is one right way of doing it. I did not specify it. Perhaps I wanted it to use CloudFront. So this, again, had ambiguity. And it just took a path that's valid, but perhaps not the path I wanted. Now it's the path I wanted. I'm lucky.
Okay.
We have to be descriptive, but if you want things done a certain way, that's where you have to specify that I want you to use CloudFront if Classic Load Balancer is not a good fit.
Exactly. I mean, our objective was get that IP blocked via WAF. That was our instruction, and it found a way to do it, which is a valid way. There might be other ways of doing it. And you can, I mean, also for Kiro CLI, you can inject some kind of steering documents to help Kiro. Perhaps you could insert to say, on every decision that is not made clear by my prompts, please ask.
Okay.
This is something that you can give as a general instruction to Kiro CLI to say, be more in a conversation mode and fill all. So don't assume anything, but like fill all missing parameters that you need before you start doing anything. So if you're missing any information, ask.
Right. But then at the same time, it's like you said, it is giving you the alternative of what you can do when you encounter those problems of, hey, this is not something that I'm able to do, but this is something that you could do instead. And then, like you said, if it's not the way that you want to build, then it's like, no, I don't want to do that. Do this instead.
Yeah, exactly.
And it sounds like we can ask Kiro to check in with us before it makes some assumptions. In this case, we were not very particular about, we just wanted the IP address to be blocked, and it did the best way it could, but maybe in a real environment we can ask it to check before it makes it.
Okay, so I see some red text.
Here.
Yes.
This is something which we which I wouldn't say it makes it human, definitely not, but what I like about because I mean this an LLM is not deterministic, it's probabilistic. So that means it doesn't know all commands exactly by heart, but sometimes it also, like we all do, it guesses like, well, I think the parameter should be called that way. Let's give it a try.
Yes.
And then it sometimes fails. So you can see it somehow, it doesn't guess a command, but somehow it says, okay, this is a probabilistic parameter. I think it should be this way, and it fires it. And it gets a response back. And then it feels like, okay, I need to correct that. I need to correct. I also saw Kiro CLI after 2 or 3 false attempts. It went to the web and searched for the manual,
Oh, wow.
which is ultra interesting to see. You can, of course, add MCP servers to this so that it has access to all the knowledge of AWS. I didn't do this on purpose because I wanted this to happen at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
So it can find its way out, but of course, if you provide the right resources at the very beginning, it's even easier for it to get.
So
No, but
even when
it
it encounters some errors, it doesn't get interrupted. It is able to figure out where it went wrong, learn from it, and then retry the same mechanism.
So what do we have here? WAF unavailable entity exception. And of course, it understands, well, ALB is not finished provisioning yet. So I need to wait until it's provisioned. And now I could run a sleep 10 command. I don't need to do this. It doesn't really make sense. Let's just give it some time. But now it's provisioning the load balancer, which again will take a bit of time.
Okay, sounds good.
So what I also do, just as a bit of background, how I work with this is when I, let's say, I'm doing a lot of serverless development with Lambdas and stuff. And when something goes wrong, I very often I'm a copy-paste guy, just copying in the error messages from CloudWatch just into Kiro CLI. And then I would just figure out, okay, this is what went wrong. This is what I need to do. So I'm not giving any instructions. I'm just copying in the error message, and it automatically picks up what went wrong, and it's trying to solve it.
Oh,
So it learns the context on its own just based on the error message that you've shared.
Or if you go to trust mode, sometimes it just goes ahead, okay, this didn't work. Let me downlog the respective logs. Let me analyze the logs. Let me try to change the code, to update the code a bit, deploy it again to the Lambda, execute the Lambda again, look at the logs if it has succeeded. So sometimes it can be really, really autonomous on what it's doing. But again, it can go into multiple directions. So you just want to make sure that you still have the control and it doesn't go wild.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So when you actually have the yes instead of the trust, you kind of see the evolution of how things are working, and at the same time, you as a user are learning through the problems, like what you said, right? Interacting with the exact errors, then you already know how it works going forward, rather than just kind of not being privy to the details of how it's actually going to resolve itself in the background.
It's creating a sort of a checkpoint for us to know what's going on and be in tune with what Kiro is developing.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I see we have a few comments from Robert Tables in the chat here.
Oh, yes. If you want to go ahead and read them out, Tambi?
Sure. So he did say AWS GameDay is such a cool learning tool. We totally agree. And just save up those things into a set of runbook files. Yeah, like Zamara mentioned, this is a great tool to use to create a runbook where then it's a standardized method where teams across the globe, like we have a global team here at AWS, it's easy for different teams sitting in different time zones to come in and be able to run it and also maintain a history of everything that was done, generate a summary, maybe output it into a document. So all of these capabilities are really helpful in standardizing some of those runbooks.
Definitely. I agree.
You're very right. Yes, absolutely. By the way, meanwhile, I have just copied, because this one was asking for the well-architected firewall ACL, and it just copied in the value of what it has created so it could check it. The reason is it doesn't want to check all the ACLs, which are all available. So just say what has been. And next task is done. And by the way, yeah, that's cool. So now I don't do any copy and pasting. How do we get this to Graviton?
We can crowdsource it. I see that there's a focus on moving to Graviton that Robert Tables just mentioned.
Yes.
So maybe we can get someone to share what they would input here. What kind of instructions would you give Kiro CLI to maybe implement or move to Graviton?
Yes, what would be, I guess, the prompt that you would use to kickstart that process?
I will just show what we have, so then you know where we are coming from. We do have right now 3 instances behind an ALB. This one is for the QCLI, which is the predecessor of Kiro CLI, where I had some infrastructure running. So this one can be ignored, but we've got 2 Uni servers here. which are on a T2 Micro. So it's an x86-based environment. And we are behind a load balancer. So yeah, I'm really curious on what kind of prompt will come up.
Yeah. So for our viewers, can you just drop what you would put into the Kiro chat to kick off this process, what you would think based on the information of the type of instances it's being used right now and how you will move them to Graviton?
And again, think about what's the objective I want to tell it. So don't try to really say, do this, do this, do this, but try to be precise on what are we trying to achieve.
Right.
Which is quite easy to get from the title. And then we will find out how it does its way.
Well, I don't see any prompts yet from the audience, but curious. Okay. I
so
guess
it's on you. So it's on you, both of you. What
right.
do you think? What were you?
Okay, so Robert says I will use AWS porting advisor for Graviton to understand compatibility. Sorry, I couldn't say that word today.
Okay, Robert, by the way, a good call out. This is script based, so we can assume that whatever runs on this current infrastructure, the T2 Micro, will run on Graviton instance without any changes. Very good. So normally we would need to check if this was possible, but I can tell you it will be. So it's just changing the infrastructure what we need to do.
So if you prompt it to modernize your infrastructure, would that motivate it to start looking into it?
Yeah. So please, again, I'm too polite. All my Unicorn servers to use Graviton instances.
Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Right.
Let's see what it comes up with.
Yeah, I'm curious. So I'll update your Unicorn server instances to use Graviton ARM-based instances. First, let me check the current auto-scaling configuration. Very clever.
Okay.
So it's, it could have directly changed the instances, but this doesn't help if it tries to scale, because then it will end up the wrong format again. So this is the launch template. It's now trying to get the information.
Robert, not at all. We're actually covering moving to Graviton within the tasks today. So you were right on the move to Graviton question, because that was one of the things that we were covering today either way.
Right. Okay. This is a bit, well, we can't see too much here because I don't know who's familiar with user data. User data is the kind of script that is executed when an EC2 instance is provisioned, which is typically the bootstrapping steps. This script is now base 64 encoded, so we can't really see what's in there. Let's have a look. Base 64 decode, just looking for the first thing in the internet we can use.
Okay.
Could we also ask Kiro to explain it to us, to decode it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I got a good idea. Yeah, wait. So write it in. I've got no idea how I would call this. You can clearly spot I'm not a native English speaker.
Well, let's try to solve it in the last 5 minutes that we have of the stream.
Right. Okay. There we are. So it has just done this.
Okay.
This is what will be in there. It's more or less using the same stuff, but it says server binary x86.4. That is likely to fail. x86?
Yes, 86.
That is likely to fail. So I could now go ahead and say, yes, do it. But I can already see this won't work because that's not the right binary. The binary would be for an ARM-based processor. So let's just tell it. Are you sure that's the right binary to download? You're right to question that. Yes, thank you. So, and what it does now, it stops assuming, and now it will let me check what binary is actually available.
Okay, perfect.
So now it will fail, I know, because it doesn't have read permissions on that bucket. That's a public bucket from Workshop Studio. So it will now try to list. This won't work.
Okay.
Because it's blocked by permissions, it will still. So I need to help it out of this because it thinks, why can't I read this bucket? So
the audience is loving the fact that Kiro was able to see that they were wrong.
To list the bucket, what binary name would you assume? Okay. I'm just trying to bring it to right. That it's now. Okay, I know this right now because I have built the container images. Otherwise, so now it's easy for me to tell it.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will need to find out, do I need to rebuild that image and done. So now you see here that part is finished. Now the user binary is fine. This has also changed it in here.
Right.
And also when executing it. So I will now just kick it off and make it run and do it. And I'm not sure if we can make it in time and provisioning. We'll find out. Perhaps we are very lucky that at the very end it will get green.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But if not, right, with the, I guess, how many minutes that we have, with the next 3 minutes that we have before the end, and while that runs in the background, what would be, I guess, like your best practices thoughts to share with our audiences that have seen the presentation today? You interact with Kiro, CLI. What should they be keeping in mind? What you recommend for them to do as they kick off testing in this environment?
Yeah, I think some stuff that I mentioned already. So it's really providing the objective is super helpful to a tool like Kiro CLI, because then it doesn't know only what to do, but why to do. And then it can come up with stuff where I say, well, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. And this sometimes happens. We've been talking about the trust part a lot.
Right.
So, I mentioned this, I'm lazy. And this way of working is a bit tiring. So it's like, okay, the first 20 minutes, you're really going to read what is it doing. Yeah. And then you start to get into the mode, well, let it try. If it won't work, it will get an error message, which might be fine, which might be not. So be aware of that it's still you're responsible for what's happening there. The tool is just doing its best, what it can do, but that can go sideways. So, and what we do right here, never ever do it on a productive scenario.
Definitely. Yeah, one of the biggest takeaways from this and one of the biggest recommendations that we always share. So keep that into mind, everyone that is viewing today's episode.
Right. Okay. As we are heading end of time, but you see the old terminal instances are now drained and terminated. By the way, one is already up. One of two is on Graviton.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, perhaps we're lucky. I can also initiate the checks. But I think it's doing one after the other. So one instance is replaced after the other just to keep the application up and running. Because we said availability is important.
Right. I was just going to say, we did say availability. So it is taking that into account.
Exactly. And I think in a few minutes' time, this will completely turn green.
But I do like the style that we have, like the checklist on the right side. And I think you can also use the normal Kiro IDE to build a sort of this checklist. Like you can tell the objective and have it create like a well-architected framework checklist to go through and build your own sort of game day.
And as we did earlier, you can also just directly ask here, like, tell me what you did or give me the status of, just in the conversation itself. Yeah.
Well, we are in the last minute of our stream, but I want to take the time now to thank you so much, Ranier, for joining us today. Maybe we can bring you back in another episode for us to do other tasks. And thank you so much, Tambi, for joining us today too, and everyone out there in the audience.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Happy to come back. Yeah.
We will work that out eternally then. And for all of you, thank you and have a great week. We'll see you all next week.